is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to episode, I think it's like 93 of the Be Greyt podcast, something like that. Here I am with a Week 11 review. Week 11 was in the books this past weekend. I did good at my pick'ems this week. 8-2. You love to see it. I'm currently, let me see what I am overall. 67-43 overall this season so far. So looking good, looking good. Let's talk about a few of these matchups. Why don't we, huh? Let's just go ahead and get started. We'll start with Oregon, Iowa. It was a game at Iowa that Oregon really needed to win. They could not let themselves lose. It was also raining. Dante Moore did just enough. Didn't necessarily play great, but all that matters is you went to Iowa. It's a hard place to play. They're a ranked opponent. Although I don't remember if the CFP had them in the rankings last night, but they were a ranked opponent at the time. And Oregon got it done. Yeah, it was by 2 points, but look, I've said it with other teams this season. You know, Alabama had a close win against South Carolina. Georgia's had a close win against Auburn and Florida. When you're in the Big Ten, but especially if you're in the SEC and you're going up against opponents like this, like, okay, it's different if you're Ohio State and you go play Purdue and you only win by 3. That's concerning. But Iowa is a good football team. And you're at Iowa. All that matters is getting the win. I don't really care how you get it done, if it's by 2 points or it's by 20 points. Just get the win. And that's what you did. You went in, you got the win, you got out. And that's what matters. Okay? Do I think Oregon is a threat to win the national championship? Personally, I don't see it. I think this team has quite a bit of flaws. I don't know if I trust Dante Moore in the big moment, in a big game. And I just don't think this team is as good as they were last year. That's just really how I feel. But I don't think it's going to be fun to play Oregon, I can tell you that. But honestly, the home loss to Indiana, where they basically just got absolutely dominated, that was a concern. It was a concerning performance. And I just really can't get it out of my head. But it was a good win for Oregon to go into Iowa and pick up the win. Alabama, LSU. At home, you get a win by 11. It wasn't a pretty win by any means. You know, LSU was in it for a while. They actually outscored Alabama in the second half. The concern I have with Alabama is their inability to run the football. And it's been an inability all season. Whether they've lost, whether they've won, they have an inability to run the football. In a game they won against Georgia, they did not run the football well at all. Ty Simpson just went absolutely insane that game. And Ty Simpson played very well in this game. My concern, though, is when you go and you play a really good opponent in the future. If you play a Texas A&M in the SEC Championship, when you get to the playoff, if you play a Georgia again, if you play an Ohio State, is your inability to run the football and your reliance on Ty Simpson going to end up hurting you and biting you in the end? That's my concern. Your leading rusher was Daniel Hill, and he had 21 yards rushing. That's not good in the slightest. But you got the win. And like I just said with Oregon, that's what matters. Just get the win. You're sitting in a good spot. You win out. You're in the SEC Championship. That's what Alabama should be focused on. Jeremy Bernard once again proves that he's the best receiver on this team. It's not Ryan Williams. And on the LSU side, Once again, you struggle offensively. Garrett Nussmeier seems to have gotten worse, which is, I have no idea how that happened, but he somehow looks significantly worse. You're running the ball, you're fine. You're not good, you're just kind of fine. Harlan Berry, 12 carries, 66 yards. I mean, it's fine. Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier got benched at one point. Michael Van Buren Jr. came in. I like Michael Van Buren. I thought he was good when he was at Mississippi State in the Georgia game. I think he has a lot of potential. He's still a young guy. This was his, he's coming in against Alabama of all teams, 5 for 11. I'm not too concerned about him. All right, I'm not. I think he's a good player. But, I mean, this LSU team is it's a disappointment. It really is. The fact that you're sitting here at 5-4, 2-4 in the SEC with this talented football team is a travesty. The defense actually did play well this game, though. The defense played well, especially in the second half. But, I don't know. And you see all the stuff going on with now Brian Kelly is suing LSU and all these things. It just looks like an absolute disaster over there in Baton Rouge, and they got to get it together if they want a credible head coach to get their job. Like, if Lane Kiffin is sitting there right now and he's looking at LSU, who doesn't seem to have much alignment, they seem to be all over the place, they're in now a legal fight with the head coach they just fired. Are you really going to choose to go there over Florida? Like, LSU is a better job than Florida. But it's not by such a margin where you can do all this nonsense and he still pick you over Florida. Florida is still a good job. And Florida at least seems to be aligned. It's a concern. It's a major concern for me if I'm an LSU fan. Major concern. And if I'm an Alabama fan, obviously I'm happy to be 8-1, 6-0 in the SEC. That you should never not be happy about that, but it's a growing concern with this running game. It really is. Texas A&M went to Missouri, dominated them. Not much really to say here. Missouri had a backup quarterback playing, Matt Zollers. I mean, Texas A&M was always going to win this game. I still have concerns with Texas A&M, specifically their defense. I don't think their defense is very good. Evidenced from the Notre Dame game. But again, all that matters is that Texas A&M continues to win. November is around the time that Texas A&M tends to, fall apart and lose a few games and struggle. But so far, they're doing exactly what they need to do. And they should be finding themselves in the SEC championship game. They have a game at home against South Carolina this weekend that they should win. Then they have Samford. Obviously, that should be a win. And then it's at Texas. And it's hard for me to think that Texas can beat Texas A&M, even as the home team. I think Texas A&M's offense is simply too explosive, and Texas's offense is not going to score enough points to keep up. But again, we'll kind of see how Texas looks in Athens this weekend. That will play a lot into kind of how I see the A&M game going. But Texas A&M is in prime position to get a top 4 seed, to go and play in Atlanta against Alabama and get that top 4 seed, Let me actually look at. I know Alabama obviously has Auburn left. Oh, that's right. They have Oklahoma. I was forgetting who they played this weekend. They have Oklahoma at home, which is not. Look, Oklahoma's not a team to sneeze at. I could see this being a low-scoring game. Oklahoma's offense has struggled a lot at times, and Oklahoma has a very good defense. But I think Alabama. Actually, I was about to say something I shouldn't say, because that should be in the picks tomorrow that I'm going to do. So let me not say what I was about to say. But that should be a good game. We'll see if Oklahoma can go into Tuscaloosa and get it done like they did last year. Obviously, that wasn't in Tuscaloosa, but you get my point. But Alabama really just needs to get through this Oklahoma game, and I think they're smooth sailing. And I think if you see Texas A&M beat South Carolina this weekend, and you see Alabama beat Oklahoma this weekend, I think it's pretty much a wrap that it's going to be Texas A&M versus Alabama in Atlanta, which as a Georgia fan, I'm actually very happy about. Because I've been telling Georgia fans, best case scenario is Georgia wins out but doesn't go to the SEC championship game. You get a free bye week, an extra free bye week with the conference championship week, and you'll still be a good seed. I mean, if Georgia wins out, they should be, 5 or 6? I would imagine. It would be hard for me to imagine that Georgia doesn't end up being a 5 seed. Obviously, things can happen. I saw Josh Pate say that, if Texas Tech, because Texas Tech is at 6 right now, if Texas Tech wins the Big 12 championship, I could see them moving ahead of Georgia and be the 5. I don't really see that because if Georgia wins out, they will have wins over currently ranked Tennessee, and that was at Tennessee. They will have wins against top 10 Ole Miss. They will have a win against ranked Texas. They will have a win against ranked Georgia Tech, who, by the way, if Georgia Tech wins the ACC, that means they would have a win against ranked ACC champion Georgia Tech, who would then be in the playoff. Why do I feel like there's a team I'm missing? I don't think there's a team I'm missing, though. And their only loss would be against Alabama, who could potentially be the SEC champion, and it was by 3 points. So that's hard for me to believe that they would put Texas Tech over Georgia, but maybe. But at worst, you'll be a 6 seed again with an extra week to prepare with the SEC with the championship weekend. And look, I always want more time to prepare. I always want the extra bye week if I'm going to the playoffs, man, because it gives you more time for your players to get healthy, and it gives you just more time to prepare. And I trust Kirby. I trust the coaching staff. So I feel like if we have more time to prepare, the better we will be. And it will give us a lot of time to get guys healthy, which I obviously love. But Georgia also needs to make sure they handle business against Texas, against Georgia Tech. But we will see what happens there. But let's go to Texas Tech BYU. I feel like I got this game right on the money. I've been telling you, BYU is so fraudulent. So fraudulent. BYU never should have been ranked at 7. Okay, if you watched any of their games, you would know that they're not a top 10 football team. They're not. Texas Tech, clearly better than them, absolutely dominated them. Wasn't even close this past weekend. Bear Bachmeier is mid at best. I mean, he was 23 for 38 for 188 yards. He averaged less than 5 yards a pass. Had 1 touchdown and 1 interception. So he's a check down merchant is what I'm seeing. Okay? LJ Martin, only 10 carries for 35 yards. Meanwhile, on the other side, Baron Morton, 17 for 32, 219 yards passing. You had Cameron Dickey run all over that BYU defense, 23 carries, 121 yards, 1 touchdown. You had Jacoby Williams, 13 carries for 77 yards. That's almost 6 yards a carry. Just dominated BYU pillar to post. Dominated them. And Texas Tech is going to win the Big 12. And they will be the Big 12 representative. And to be frank, I better not see another Big 12 team in the playoff. I better not see Utah, because Utah got beat by this fraudulent BYU team, and Utah has looked very weak at times this season. BYU better not get in, because they're just simply not very good. I better just see Texas Tech. And I think Texas Tech is a threat. I think they are a good football team. Do I think they're a national title contender? Absolutely not. But could they win a playoff game? I could see it. I think they're good enough. And Texas Tech's one loss was to Arizona State with Texas Tech's backup quarterback. Just so we're clear. Just so we're clear. So really good win by Texas Tech. I'm really high on them for this season, for this postseason that I'm assuming they'll make it to. You know what? Why don't we go over the college football playoff rankings that came out last night, huh? Because I do got some beef, as I usually always do, because these people have no clue what they are doing. Top 5 stayed the same, which was pretty much expected. Although I still don't really understand why Indiana is behind Ohio State, but I really don't understand how Ohio State gets to be the best out of the undefeated teams. Indiana certainly has a better resume, and Texas A&M doesn't necessarily have a good resume. Ohio State's resume is genuinely awful. Genuinely awful. Is there a team that's ranked that they've beaten? Nope. They certainly haven't. Although, I'll get this to my first gripe. Michigan went up to 18 when they were on a bye week. The Michigan bias every year is honestly astounding. It is honestly astounding how every single year, this committee loves Michigan. And I do not understand it. Michigan is garbage. Garbage. Michigan being 7-2 tells you how bad the Big Ten is. Honestly. Utah should not be up at 13. Vanderbilt's better than Utah. Miami's better than Utah. Georgia Tech might be better than Utah and has a better record. But I do understand Georgia Tech's one loss to NC State, genuinely awful. USC might be better than Utah as well. BYU being at 12, why? I understand they have to be ahead of Utah, but again, like I just said, Utah should not be at 13. They both should move back. Honestly, I would have still had Ole Miss ahead of Texas Tech. I would have just had Texas Tech at 7. Just move up 1, but I get it. My ranking, I would have Indiana at 1, Ohio State 2, Texas A&M 3, Bama 4, Georgia 5. I'd have Ole Miss at 6, Tech at 7, Oregon at 8. Notre Dame, Texas is interesting. That one's because I'm not a believer in either one of these teams. I think they're both super mid. I think they are both super mid. But if they play tomorrow, who do I think would win? Honestly, I have no idea. I think, honestly, Notre Dame would win. I really do. I am not a believer in Texas. I do not understand why people think Texas is going to make the playoff. I do not understand it. So I agree with Notre Dame, Texas, then Oklahoma. To me, then it should be Vanderbilt or Miami. Should be the next two, in whatever order you want to put them in. Then it should probably be Georgia Tech. Then probably USC. And then who really cares? I'm going to be honest. Then who really cares? Then probably, I guess, BYU if you want to put them there. I don't know. USF right now is the group of 5 team that's in. Georgia, if it ended today, Georgia would play them in Athens. Oh, boy, would I love that. Oh, boy, would I love I would appreciate that. I really would. I really, really would. Pitt is in the top 10, but they'll get knocked out after Notre Dame beats the brakes off of them. Although it would be hilarious if Pitt beats Notre Dame. Genuinely, it would be hilarious. Louisville is just quite simply disappointing me and pissing me off. But we'll kind of just have to see how it plays out. I just don't understand why BYU is still at 12. They got absolutely dominated. Don't know why Utah's 13. I don't understand why Michigan is 18. They should be way farther back. A bunch of things I just don't understand here. Honestly, I think Iowa is better than Michigan. Have they played? Hold on. Let me see if they have played. Michigan schedule. Let's see if they've even played each other. If they have, then fair play, but let's see. No, they have not. Yeah, I think Iowa's better than Michigan. By the way, the last time we saw Michigan play, they beat Purdue by 5. Just so we're clear. They beat 2-7 Purdue by 5 points. At home, by the way. At home. But it's a moot point. Michigan's not going to win out anyways. They'll beat Northwestern because Northwestern's not very good. Maryland's an interesting one. Be careful with Maryland. And then I don't see Michigan beating Ohio State this year. I really just don't see it. I think Ohio State will dominate Michigan this year. But if they do beat Ohio State, again, that would be really funny. That would be really funny. I will say another way I could see Georgia maybe, or let me put this scenario out there. If let's say Texas A&M, Alabama, they're in the SEC championship, right? Alabama 1 loss, Texas A&M is undefeated. If Alabama loses, all right, let's say Texas A&M beats Alabama in the SEC championship. Alabama's at 4, Georgia's at 5. Alabama will have 2 losses. Georgia will still only have 1. Would they keep Alabama at 4 ahead of Georgia? Just my question. And just to be clear, I'm not saying there's necessarily a right answer. I would understand if they kept Alabama ahead of Georgia. Okay? You beat Georgia. It's not, you had an extra game. Like if Georgia was in Alabama's spot, right? And we beat Alabama earlier in the year, but then we lost a game in the SEC championship game and then moved behind them, I would be pissed, to be fair. So I understand it. But I kind of understand it both ways. But that would be an interesting scenario. I really wonder what they would do. But yeah. I hope everyone has a great day. You will have another episode from me tomorrow doing my... Gosh, what week are we even on? We're so late. Week 12. Goodness. Week 12 preview. 10-game picks will be tomorrow, so look out for that. I hope everyone has an amazing Wednesday. Don't forget to go out there and be great.